Good morning. I'm Jillian Black, and welcome to the Department of Family and Support Services Grandparents or Older Relatives Raising Children RFP webinar. Just a few housekeeping rules. Due to the volume of participants, everyone has been placed on mute. Please submit questions via the questions box, and we will respond to questions at the midpoint and end of the presentation. Please use the questions box to notify us of any technical issues. Please be advised this webinar is being recorded. Anything stated at this webinar is not intended to change the solicitation document. Any changes will be in writing in the form of an addendum issued by the Department of Family and Support Services. The purpose of this webinar is to provide information for the solicitation. A copy of the recording will be posted on the DFSS YouTube channel with a link to the recording, and a PDF of these PowerPoint slides will be posted to the DFSS webpage at City of Chicago under the Alerts and/or Funding Opportunities tabs. Please give it up to 5 business days to upload. DFSS retains the right to share a list of registrants to this webinar along with their contact and organizational information at our discretion. As for the agenda, we're going to go through the welcome and introductions and following up with the purpose of the RFP, the background, information about the scope and program description, the selection criteria, the timeline, technical assistance for applicants, and e-procurement, and then another final round for questions.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to introduce our team. My name is Stacy Subita. I am a supervisor here with the Department of Family and Support Services in our Senior Services Division and oversee the caregiver portfolio. And I'll hand it on to Gladys.
Hi, my name is Gladys Benitez. I'm the Community Living Specialist and will be the Program Manager for the GORRC program.
And as I said before, my name is Jillian Black. I'm the Procurement Proposal Coordinator, and I'm working with the RFP.
Here at DFSS, our mission is to work with community partners, connect our Chicago residents and families to resources that build stability, support their well-being, and empower them to thrive. Our priorities are to deliver and support high-quality, innovative, comprehensive services that empower clients to thrive, and to collaborate with community partners on programs and policies that improve Chicagoans' lives and advance systematic change. Also to inform the public of resources available to them through DFSS and its community partners, and also to steward DFSS resources responsibly and effectively. There are 7 divisions within DFSS. They are Children's Services, Division on Domestic and Gender-Based Violence, Homeless Services, Human Services, Workforce Services, Youth Services, and Senior Services. Through Senior Services, we provide assistance with nutrition, caregiving, in-home care, information and benefits, elder rights and advocacy, and provide senior services staff with DFSS employees, and also work with service providers. The purpose of the RFP is DFSS is seeking proposals from qualified social service agencies who have experience providing case management, assessments, support groups, and gap-filling services for grandparents or older relatives 55 years and older who have the primary responsibility of raising children, such as nieces, nephews, siblings, cousins, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who are under the age of 18 and or individuals with severe disabilities between the ages of 19 and 59. The target population includes frail and low-income older individuals, minority older individuals, or older individuals with limited English proficiency, and LGBTQ+, and older adults living with HIV. Respondents will provide 1,000 units of support group services to 150 clients, 227 units of case management services to 150 clients, and 375 units of gap filling services to 100 clients citywide. The Senior Service Division is also designated as the local area agency on aging, also known as the AAA for the City of Chicago. As the AAA, DFSS coordinates and funds services for older adults, prioritizing those in greatest economic and social needs and those that are living alone and those at risk for institutional placement. Senior Service Division efforts are guided by supporting older adults to live independently in their own community and home as long as possible, ensuring that those that reside in institutions are treated with dignity and care, and guaranteeing older persons have access to accurate information to participate in public policy. Together with our service providers, we provide virtual information and assistance, congregate and home delivered meals, senior centers, fitness classes, caregiver support, and home services, just to name a few. We value integrity and respect as well as promoting social engagement among the elderly as an antidote to dependence, social isolation, and withdrawal. For more information on our strategic framework, please visit cityofchicago.org/FSS. GORRC services will be funded by Title III-E state and federal funds of the Older Americans Act and Illinois Department on Aging funding. American Rescue Plan or other funds may be included if available. In FY 2022, we funded one delegate agency with $142,400 to provide services citywide. DFSS will provide funds of $220,580 to one delegate agency to meet the needs of older adults. Grandparents or older relatives raising grandchildren, also known as GORRC, helps grandparents and relatives age 55 or older maintain their own physical and mental health and well-being while meeting the health, educational, nutritional, and other needs of the children. The goals for GORRC are to reduce stress for at least 80% of participants, improve health and wellness for at least 80% of participants, increase the ability to cope and care for children for at least 80% of the participants, increase the confidence to continue raising children in their care for at least 80% of participants, and increase awareness and support available for 80% of participants. The responsibility of caring for a child or person with a disability later in life can affect a caregiver's physical, mental, and financial well-being. In Chicago, 15.5% of grandparents living with their grandchildren under the age of 18 have an income below the federal poverty level. GORRC services are free and assist recipients with navigating the social service network. GORRC provides supportive services to reduce stress and burnout and help promote a stable home for the child or person with disability. GORRC services seek to cultivate and or support a sense of familial well-being and improve quality of life. Recommended best practice and evidence-based GORRC models to consider include case management-based interventions, resourcefulness coaching, support groups, and health promotion programs. The selected respondent can also demonstrate the effectiveness of a proposed program model using statistics and data from similar programs previously delivered by the agency. Selected respondent may use existing programs where they already have access to trained professionals or address a combination of programs that will be used. 2.7 million grandparents and underreported number of older relatives caregivers are responsible for caring for grandchildren whose parents are no longer able to care for them. There are 53,161 grandparents living in Chicago with their grandchildren under the age of 18 years. 15,884 grandparents are solely responsible for their grandchildren under the age of 18, and 3,371 of those grandparents have a disability. The current race composition for grandparents are 48% are African American or Black, 41% are Hispanic or Latino origin, 7% are white, and 3% are Asian. DFSS seeks delegate agencies with the capacity to improve participation rates for GORRC services. The selected respondent will work closely with DFSS to promote and increase participation rates in gap filling and support groups, and expects the agency to serve 150 grandparents and older relatives in FY 2025. To be eligible for GORRC services, grandparents or older relatives of the child by blood, marriage, or adoption must be 55 years of age or older, live with the child who is under the age of 18 or an individual 19 to 59 with a disability, be the primary caregiver of the child or individual with disability because the biological or adoptive parent are unable or unwilling to serve as the primary caregiver, have a legal relationship to the child, such as legal custody or guardianship, and or raising the child informally, and they must be a resident of the city of Chicago. No requirement as to the duration of residency or citizenship will be imposed as a condition of participation. Participants must be prioritized based on the Older Americans Act Title III priorities, which states preference for older persons with the greatest economic or social needs. The selected respondent will be responsible for the program management, which includes outreach, assessment, program implementation, retention, and data collection. Individual interventions should be delivered in-house or contracted to a third-party provider or a combination. Overall, the respondent should aim to serve 150 participants citywide per year. The respondent must conduct ongoing outreach activities citywide to ensure participation and retention in the program of eligible individuals in the program. Outreach efforts may include, but are not limited to, community presentations, brochures, flyers, webinars, and other social media. Program promotion through the various news and public information media is subject to approval by DFSS's Public Information Officer and must credit DFSS and or funder as a source of funds supporting GORRC services. DFSS Information and Assistance Department, also known as INA, is the lead contact to receive intake calls and refer grandparents to the selected respondent. The selected respondent may take direct referrals. However, the referrals should be forwarded to DFSS INA to enter into the system. The selected respondent at minimum must be available to accept referrals during DFSS working hours of 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. The selected respondent is responsible for contacting the participant within 72 hours of receiving the referral to determine level of services. Referrals can be made to INA by calling 312-744-4016 or 311 or emailing at aging@cityofchicago.org. The service categories available through the GORRC program are tailored caregiver assessment and referral, also known as TCARE, support groups, gap filling services. Participants can receive more than one GORRC services. Previously offered services, counseling services, counseling services were previously offered. However, due to utilization rates, the service is no longer offered. DFSS will require that the selected respondent utilize the TCARE assessment tool to help grandparents or older relatives utilize services that might give them the most long-term impact in the most meaningful way. Assessments should be completed in person. Virtual options such as telephone and web-based tools such as Teams, Microsoft Teams, Skype, Zoom can be preferred as an alternative in extenuating circumstances. The unit for service measurement is one in-person full assessment. The unit includes time spent in direct interactions with the grandparent or older relative and should include travel, paperwork, planning, and administrative duties. Each client will be fully assessed once during a fiscal year or more frequently based on the client's needs. Selected respondent will also be required to conduct quarterly follow-up calls, which may warrant a full assessment if the client's needs have changed. The target for TCARE assessment is 150 unduplicated grandparents or older relatives citywide per year. The annual budget for TCARE is $25,580. Purpose of support group is to provide a safe environment where grandparents and older relatives can support their peers by exchanging thoughts, ideas, concerns, and coping strategies. The selected respondent is responsible for managing a support group, which includes training and supervising paid, in-kind, and/or a combination of volunteer support group leaders. The group leader should coordinate, schedule, facilitate support group discussions, including outreach to recruit participants, schedule guest speakers, and distribute information with the selected respondent support. The selected respondent must offer in-person and virtual support groups sessions throughout the city. If in-person is not available, virtual option must be offered. The unit for service is one session per group. A unit rate per hours of support group shall be provided by the respondent for services provided. Travel, paperwork, planning, administrative tasks should be included. The target for support group is 100 unduplicated clients, 150 unduplicated clients, and the budget is $95,000. Gap filling services may be provided to purchase a limited supply of goods services when all other resources of goods services have been exhausted. Requests must be approved by the selected respondent. The respondent must adhere to an approval process and document how the money was used. Purchases must be made in accordance with DFSS and Illinois Department on Aging service allowable under the Older Americans Act. Gap filling can provide up to $1,000 per child's grandparent of appropriate goods or services each fiscal year. The selected respondents may utilize a combination of direct paid staff, subcontractors, in-kind, and volunteers to fulfill gap filling services. The target for gap filling services is 100 unduplicated grandparents. The annual budget is $100,000. Allowable purchase include clothing, uniforms, school fees and supplies, day camps, summer camps, after-school programming, electric devices, eyeglasses, furniture to ensure a safe living environment, one-time utility assistance, prescription medication, toys, and emergency requests may be approved by DFSS program manager on a case-by-case basis. Purchases that are not allowable are cash assistance or gift cards, childcare or respite services, co-payments to meet deductible requirements, legal fees, mortgage or rental assistance, previously paid expenses, and travel expenses. 1 unit of service equals 1 incident of gap filling assistance. This includes an assessment of needs, identification of resources, purchasing an item or coordinating purchase, coordinating the delivery of item, and variable documentation of expenses. Delegate agencies are encouraged to utilize tax exemption of purchase items if applicable. The selected respondent will be reimbursed for the exact cost of the item service purchase for the child. The selected respondent must document expenditures and follow up to determine if the item service has been delivered. The selected respondent is responsible for paying the cost of gap filling services and invoicing DFSS. The selected respondent is then reimbursed by DFSS. Fiscal procedures to account for every expenditure and receipt of supplemental gap filling payments are required. In order to meet a demand of commonly purchased gap filling items, the agency needs to have their own vouchering process. The selected respondent is responsible for purchasing and must facilitate return and exchange of item if necessary. It is not allowed for clients to return item for gift cards or cash. And I'll turn it over to Stacy.
Thank you, Gladys. Now we're going to review the emergency contingency planning, which special emphasis should be placed on developing contingency plans for any types of emergencies. This can include any type of health emergencies, such as the pandemic, as well as weather emergencies, as listed on the slide, that may require a change in programming, registration, or location. Sometimes it may be necessary to transition in-person interventions to other types of delivery methods if and when local officials may deem in-person programs unsafe. The selected respondent should develop policies and procedures to include sections on training, PPE, health screenings, etc. And the policies and procedures must be in accordance with the Centers for Disease Control, Illinois Department of Public Health, and federal emergency management guidance. Next slide, please. Staff qualifications. The selected respondent is required to assign and maintain for the duration of the services a staff of qualified personnel to perform the services. The selected respondent will retain and make available to the city, state, and federal agencies governing these funds provided under the agreement proof of certification or expertise, including but not limited to licenses, resumes, and job descriptions. Staff will include appropriate supervisory and support staff to provide services. The program coordinator or director is the key contact to DFSS and will receive the referrals as well as arrange and have over accountability for the requested service delivery. This position may not be vacant at any time during the contract period. It is preferred, but not required, that this employee has a master's degree in a social science field. And it is preferred that the employee has at least 5 years of social service related or administrative experience. The other position is the grandparents or older relatives raising children specialist. The selected respondent should identify a staff member to administer comprehensive assessments, create plans of care, and identify and educate clients about additional resources. Again, it is preferred but not required that the employee has a master's degree in a social science field. The minimum qualification is at least a bachelor's level degree. The person must have skills, including experience with coaching and support group facilitation. It is preferred that the employee has at least 2 years of social service experience and or lived experience as a grandparent or older relative raising a child. The selected respondent must have a valid business license to operate in Illinois, and they must comply to all applicable laws, ordinances, policies, or procedures in relation to background checks, fingerprinting, and screening. Background checks are an allowable expense if included in advance in the budget. The respondent will be required to obtain criminal background checks, which include an electronic fingerprint check, as well as checking exclusionary list websites as listed on the slide, and the Adult Protective Services Registry on each employee who will have direct participant contact. Client contributions. The selected respondent may not charge for any services provided under the grant agreement. However, pursuant to the Older Americans Act, all clients must be provided the opportunity to contribute or donate to the cost of their services. Contributions are strictly voluntary, and no client will be refused for not contributing. The respondent must collect, record, and report any contributions received on a monthly basis. Donations can be used to expand services. The selected respondent is encouraged to collect project income or client contributions to defray program costs where appropriate. DFSS will be looking for respondents with evidence of strong past performance against desired outcome goals. Our performance indicators include 80% of clients reporting a reduction in stress levels, 80% of clients reporting that gap-filling funds allow them to receive goods or services for their care and the care of the child or person with disability that they would otherwise be unable to afford, 80% of clients reporting that services increase their ability to cope with caring for children or persons with disabilities, and 80% of clients reporting increased confidence to continue raising the child or person with disability who is under their care. To monitor and recognize progress toward the performance indicators, we also intend to track output metrics that may include but are not limited to 150 assessments to be conducted annually, 150 clients and 1,000 units of support group services to be provided annually, and 100 clients and 375 units of gap filling services to be provided annually. As part of our commitment to become more outcomes-oriented, the division seeks to actively and regularly collaborate with delegate agencies to review program performance and develop strategies to improve program quality. Upon award, delegate agencies will be expected to collect and report client-level demographic, performance, and service data. The respondent must enter the assessment information, data, and care plan in TCARE. The data platform that is utilized for tracking and reporting is Aging IS, and it is the expectation for the respondent to input client information by the first week of the following month. Delegate agencies must implement policies and procedures to ensure privacy and confidentiality of client records in both paper and electronic files. And for more information about our information security and technology policies, you may reference the website listed on this slide. In terms of client files, we expect that the respondent must maintain a confidential file on each client, which will be kept in a secure, locked space. Case notes must file alone with supporting documents as required by DFSS. The respondent must ensure that the information is accurate, complete, and current, and maintained separately from other files. Client complaints and grievances. The respondent must have a mechanism for filing any type of complaints or grievances in regards to service delivery. The clients must be given a mechanism for comments and suggestions on service delivery improvements. DFSS reserves the right to create such a mechanism to be distributed and by the selected respondent. And a complaint log must be kept recording the client's name, date, and reason for dissatisfaction, as well as steps taken to rectify the situation. In regards to program evaluation and satisfaction surveys, the respondent must have procedures for evaluating and reporting client satisfaction and must administer a survey measuring client and family satisfaction developed and provided by DFSS, reporting the results of the survey to receive feedback on a quarterly basis. Next slide, please. The selected respondent must use the computerized tracking system, in this case AgingIS, to provide required data and reports to senior services by the 5th of the following month for clients served in the preceding month. The selected respondent will need to keep track of units of service provided, as well as unduplicated client count and other necessary demographic data. Both program and financial reports will be required of all funded providers, and DFSS requires that there is a program and fiscal reporting system to ensure the provision of accurate and timely reporting. Reports must be submitted on time to allow time to prepare our own reports. And quarterly meetings, usually monthly meetings, will be held with the agency to discuss program operations and progress. Attendance for these meetings is mandatory and not subject to reimbursement. Now we're going to review the selection criteria for the evaluation of the applications. The first category is community involvement. The respondent must demonstrate a clear understanding of the target population, including strengths and assets, as well as needs and challenges. The respondent will have to demonstrate expertise working with a target population and have relevant capabilities and/or infrastructure needed to serve this group, as well as an action plan for cultural diversity and competency in the client's primary language. The respondent must demonstrate client and community engagement activities that inform service delivery. The respondent must demonstrate a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. The respondent's leadership reflects and engages the diverse people of the communities that it serves. Next slide, please. Organizational capacity. The respondent will need to show that qualified staff who are responsible for the program and oversight and management of the program. The respondent will need to demonstrate adequate systems and processes to support monitoring program expenditures and fiscal controls. They must show that they have a secure data collection and management process and adequate human resources capacity to hire and manage staff. We will also be looking at the strength of the proposed program. The respondent will need to clearly define the services to be provided, directly or through partnerships with other agencies that are appropriate to addressing the needs of and achieving desired outcomes for the target population. The proposed program will be supported by strong national or local evidence-based or best practices within the relevant field. They must demonstrate an effective approach to identifying and retaining program participants. The respondent shows partnerships coordinating with other agencies to expand and improve services in a client-centered, comprehensive way, and that they demonstrate a plan to address gap-filling services as one of the core services of this RFP. We will also evaluate performance management and outcomes. The respondent will need to demonstrate evidence of strong past performance against desired outcome goals and performance metrics, or other notable accomplishments in providing services to the target population. They will need to demonstrate experience using data to inform or improve its services or practices. Finally, they must describe their ability to disaggregate their data and demonstrate how they use data in their program delivery. And the last criteria we look at is reasonable costs, budget justification, and leverage of funds. The respondent will need to show fiscal capacity to implement the proposed program. They will need to leverage other funds and in-kind contributions to support total program and administrative costs. and they will need to demonstrate reasonable implementation costs and funding requests relative to its financial and human resources. The proposed budget needs to support the proposed scope of work or work plan, specifically around gap filling services. Please be sure to attach any reports, studies, or other documents that show program performance towards reaching program goals. You must also attach any resumes for key staff or job descriptions for those that will be overseeing the program. And finally, we are looking for an attachment of the budget for this program, making sure that all program requirements are addressed in your budget. The application will be evaluated on the strengths of the proposal and responsiveness to the selection criteria. Failure to submit a complete proposal or respond fully to all requirements may make your submission subject to rejection. The Commissioner, upon review of recommended agencies, may reject, deny, or recommend agencies that have applied for grants based on previous performance. DFSS reserves the right to ensure that all mandated services are available citywide and provided in a linguistically and culturally appropriate manner. In terms of our timeline, we're having the pre-proposal webinar today, August 28th, 2024. All questions will be due on August 30th, 2024. That would be this Friday, August 30th, 2024. And applications will be due on September 13th, 2024. The program will begin October 1st, 2024. The term of the contract executed under this RFP will begin October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2027. It will be a 3-year contract term. Based on need, availability of funds, and performance, DFSS may extend this term for up to 1 additional year, with each extension not to exceed 1 year. The amount for this RFP for 1 year is $220,580 annually. The contract will operate on a reimbursement basis only. No advances will be given at this time. The administrative cap for the program is 10%, and there is no match requirement. Please submit a budget proposal for 1 year or 12 months of services. The cost category definitions are attached as budget instructions in every RFP. Be thoughtful and inclusive when developing your budget, and we generally cannot give you more money than what you ask. Use the reasonable costs on the application to discuss how you determine the costs reflected in your budget. Common mistakes we see on budgets include fringe, please check your calculations. Supplies, these are frequently either over or under budgeted for. Client assistance, if this is appropriate, don't forget to include it. And make sure that your job description titles and your job description uploads are the same title. Please put a brief description of your job in the budget document itself. Put your budget in the appropriate column and show your match. Again, applications are due on Friday, September 13th, 2024 at 12 p.m. noon Central Time. So with that, I will hand it over to my colleague Jillian to speak about the e-procurement system.
Thanks, Stacy. Just a couple tips regarding the application. I want to start by saying to start your application early as possible and save it as often as possible. If you have not done business with the City of Chicago before, please register into iSupplier ASAP. Review RFP narratives and the application questions closely. Remember that they align with the scope and the selection criteria. Please use the information in the RFP for guidance in formulating your answers. There is a 4,000 character limit, which includes punctuation and spaces. Each response is allotted 4,000 characters. And please do not use the back button on your browser. Once again, start your application as early as possible and save it as often as possible. To submit multiple applications for a single RFP, Applicants will need to set up a unique user account in iSupplier. The e-procurement system is not capable of submitting more than one distinct proposal per associated email address. Therefore, you must use a separate email address for each proposal submission. You can submit your application and later amend it up until the due date of September 13th at noon. To avoid the rush and possible mishaps, submit your application early. Plan on submission taking 30 to 60 minutes. Please be advised that late applications cannot and will not be accepted. If you have any questions, please make use of the e-procurement hotline at 312-744-4357. This hotline operates during business hours only, which is Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Once again, save your application often and submit as early as possible. Just a few agency requirements. Agencies must provide articles of incorporation and any amended articles of incorporation. Agencies must submit an IRS affirmation letter, only if you're not for profit. This letter must be dated within 60 days of submission. You can obtain this by calling the IRS directly at 1-877-829-5500. If you are a for-profit agency, submit your original letter from the IRS showing your FEIN number. Agencies must provide their UEI number. Agencies must provide their central contractor registration. Please provide a copy of the entity overview page on the www.sam.gov website. Lastly, a certificate of good standing letter with the state of Illinois is required as well. As of April of this year, we have a new labor peace agreement ordinance. This will only apply to DFSS and CDPH delegates that have 20 or more employees working for their organization. The only exemption is hospitals. Contractors must provide written notice to the commissioner or her designee within 72 hours of becoming aware that employees want to organize or that a union seeks to represent employees. Contractor must enter into an LPA within 90 days of receiving notice from a labor organization that it represents or seeks to represent employees. You may ask, what is an LPA? An LPA is an agreement between an employer and a labor union that ensures that an organizing drive is not impacted by union-busted techniques, which includes employee retaliation. And in return, they will not strike or stop work in a way that will impact human services. For technical assistance, on the DFSS webpage, there's a link to the RFP of interest. There will be a link to the RFP of interest and training documents. Please see the alert section on our website. For questions on registration and e-procurement technical assistance for delegate agencies, please contact customer support at cityofchicago.org. They also can be reached at 312-744-4357. And then for training materials, which includes documents and videos, please visit the City of Chicago website. The link is here on the slide. Entering responses and accepting amendments. First, you create the quote from the drop-down menu in the actions box and click on Go. This will take you to the application page where you can get started. In the RFP you are interested in, if the RFP you are interested in has been amended, you will need to acknowledge and accept the amendment to start and submit a response. To accept the amendment, click on the View Amendment History. To begin the acceptance and acknowledgement process, follow these steps after clicking View Amendment History. First, you must click on the document number. Next, click on the infinity or eyeglass icon to review the amended changes to the RFP. And then click on Acknowledge Amendments button to acknowledge receipt and understanding of these changes, and then you can proceed. By acknowledging the amendment, you are indicating that you are aware of the changes made to the RFP in the amendment. And when you get to this screen, click on the I accept checkbox and then click on acknowledge. Then click on yes to indicate that you confirm your acknowledgement of the amendment. Finally, click on a checkbox that you accept the terms and conditions, and then click on accept to accept them. This is the final step in acknowledging and accepting the amendment. Now, how to submit your actual application. When you are ready to submit, start by saving your draft one last time and then click continue. If you are missing information, you'll be given an error message at the top of the page. Usually the error message directs to something left undone in the application. I believe that this function is extremely helpful for suppliers. They won't let you, the system won't let you move forward unless it's, whatever is missing has been corrected. So in the last example, the error message indicated that the lines had not been filled out. In this example, the error is about an unanswered question in the application or the requirement section. The quote values refer to your, in this case, missing answer. Once your application is free from all errors and you are ready to proceed and to submit. At this point, clicking continue should put your application into the review and submit phase. Once you see this page, this is basically the summary page of your response, and this is your last chance to review all of your data and to confirm that it's accurate. Check your attachments and scroll to the bottom of the screen to see all of your responses. At the bottom of the screen, you will be asked to provide an electronic signature. Please be sure to fill in the signature before checking the box. Lastly, you can finally click submit. Make sure that you see this submittal confirmation screen. The e-procurement system will send a confirmation email within 24 hours of your submission. Please call or email me if you desire confirmation prior to then. Any questions? Our question deadline is this Friday, August 30th. So if you don't have any questions right now, you can always send them to Stacy Sabita, and I will provide her contact information shortly. If you don't have any questions, so for more information, if you do have something, a question, and it's before the time of the deadline, please send them to Stacy Sabita. Her contact information is 312-743-7272. She also can be reached via email at stacy.sabita@cityofchicago.org. And then for non-programmatic questions, you can always reach out to the e-procurement hotline. Again, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they can be reached via phone at 312-744-4357 and via email at customersupport@cityofchicago.org. And you can also reach out to me. My name is Jillian Black, and my email information is jillian.black@cityofchicago.org. Stacy, any last comments?
Just wanted to thank you all for taking the time this morning to join us for the webinar. Again, if you have any questions, please submit by this Friday. The application will be due on Friday, September 13th. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending our webinar, and everyone have a good rest of your day. Thank you.